This week I'm in Almeida and Belmonte, Portugal. Almeida is one of the most impressive defenses of the Iberian Peninsula.
This is Almeida, and this is a 5-star fortress.
Having had an important role in the struggle against Spain and in the heroic opposition to the French invasion in the early 19th century.
This is the Brotherhood of Sabor Reianos.
Pelos aromas e sabor reianos, com alma por Almeida, brindamos. Porque é de boa fidalguia comer e beber sempre em boa companhia. Brindamos.
Pronto. Saúde. Saúde.
Saúde.
You know what I love about Almeida? I love the history, I love the flowers, the beautiful buildings, and the people, and the gastronomy is extraordinary. It's definitely a destination that one has to come and experience.
So welcome to Almeida. I know we have a group that has come here.
Espero que gostem desta.
Hope you enjoyed this nice and historic village. It has one of the best well-preserved walls in Europe.
Temos umas casas mata que vamos agora visitar.
We're going to visit the military museum now, which is one of a kind in the world.
Temos como vos disse, rico e vasto património.
From the 12 historic villages in Portugal, Almeida has 2, which is Almeida and Castelo Mendo.
Almeida e Castelo Mendo. Dizer-vos que nós também aqui em Almeida estamos.
And Almeida is also applying for World Heritage Patrimony.
Estamos agora a tentar.
This is Almeida, and this is the star-shaped fortress.
Over there you can see the monument of one of our revolutions of Portugal, 25 of April of 1974. It's called the Freedom of the Carnations. That is a symbol, that flower is a symbol of our revolution of the 25th of April of 1974. So this is the magnificence of our door, of the gate of São Francisco. So we're in the double gates of São Francisco, that's how this is called. On your left it was the guardhouse, and now it's the tourism's office. I'm Fatima, and I'm from the museum, the Military Historical Museum of Almeida, and I'm going to share a little history with you about Almeida. This is the Casa Matas. This is how it's called. Today it is a museum, a historical and history museum. It served as a refugee of the civil people when the Napoleon Wars. And afterwards it was also a prison for when our civil war here in Portugal with 2 kings, Dom Miguel, Dom Pedro. And then, with the lack of space for the artillery, they would come, here they would be also the military, military quarters, okay? Now, this is underground. It was bomb-proof, artillery bomb-proof at the time. There are 20 rooms, all with ventilation. Only 3 don't have ventilation. So this room is dedicated to the Civil War here in Portugal, 1832-1834, with 2 kings, 2 brothers, Dom Pedro, Dom Miguel. And the museum, this space that we're here today, also was prisons after being the shelter for the civil people. It also was prisons for those who were against Dom Miguel. So this room is dedicated to, it's called in Portuguese, restauração. It means that we were under the Spanish dominion, the Philippes, and we became again in the Portuguese domain with Dom João IV. Okay, and so we have a holiday that is on the 1st of December dedicated to this event. This is another room, one of the most important ones that we have here in the museum, due to the fact that we have every year a reenactment about the Peninsular Wars, and this room is specifically about the Peninsular Wars. So everything that we have here, we have all the uniforms. This is artillery. with the canyons. We use them, the canyons, the rifles are all used in our reenactments. The reenactment that we produce every year is it's always the last weekend of August. Almeida was close to Spain, and it was very desired from the French. They wanted this because it was a very good spot. And the fortress here, Almeida, it's a high place, right, and a landscape, and it had all the conditions to be a good fortress to prevent the attacks. This picture that we have here shows us the explosion of our Middle Age castle. It was exploded on the 26th of August. It shows how big the explosion was. It was a very catastrophe. And it was the target, the target was precisely in the ammunition room. So this is another room that we have here in the museum. It is dedicated to our king, Dom João IV. Dom João IV, he was the king that started a new reign. So we stopped being Spanish and we became Portuguese again, okay? So it is important. We have a holiday on the 1st of December dedicated to this day, 1940. I'm sorry, 1640. Sorry, 1640.
The owner of the Irene restaurant prepares all the meals. It's a great day to celebrate and just have good old-fashioned fun in these great stables. We are having so much fun, and why not? Not a care in the world.
How are you doing? Lembramos ouvir. São emoções que dão vida à saudade que traz. Aquelas que...
Chasing Wild Ass. It's not what you're thinking. It's a narrative of my travel around the world. I have interspersed photos and recipes to whet your appetite and allow you to dream, discover, and rediscover these great destinations. The title came about while I was in Kutch Wild Sanctuary chasing jackasses in India. Chasing Wild Ass is adventure, it's culinary, it's history, and it's a lifestyle with a bit of humor to spice it up. Chasing Wild Ass, the book, is more than 500 pages exploring the world. Remember, my world is your world. So get up, get out, and travel.
This is the map of the municipality of Belmonte with their village. Belmonte, Culmial da Torre, Caria, Enguias e Massainhas. The solar of Cabral family, it was the second house of the Cabrais. And in the blazon we can see the goats that are the blazon of the Cabral family. Once again, goats means cabra in Portugal. And there we have the city hall. This is the main street of Belmonte and it's called the street of Pedro Álvares Cabral. And we will see the statue of Pedro Álvares Cabral also in the garden. Well, this is the statue of Pedro Álvares Cabral. Pedro Álvares Cabral was born in Belmonte and he discovered Brazil in the 22 April 1500. And in here we have a little bit of the letter of Pero Vaz de Caminha that tell us that in that day we saw the land of Vera Cruz. The 22 April of 1500 when Portuguese discovered Brazil.
E as almas dos poetas não as entende ninguém.
The Convento Belmonte Hotel is a perfect place to rest your head and enjoy the lovely scenic valley. These students are entertaining the crowd at a reception at the Convento Belmonte Hotel.
Aqui em noites de luar pode entender os poetas, e eu que arrasto amarguras que nunca arrastou ninguém. Tenho alma para sentir a dos poetas também.
The dinner includes the national dish, which is bacalhau, and of course regional wines. The Museum of the New World features interactive elements. It's very modern and an educational experience.
My name is Elizabeth.
Estamos numa vila histórica em que
This is a historical village
um jovem de 14 anos saiu de Belmonte rumo a Lisboa
where a young with 14 years old, that was Pedro Álvares Cabral, left Belmonte to Lisbon.
The interactive project of sensation and affections, which will transport the visitor to the history of 500 years of the construction of a country of Portugal, way to the beginning the work and unifying elements of the New World.
Nós, como beirões, gostamos de receber-vos bem. Venham sempre, que serão sempre bem-vindos à terra de Pedro Álvares Cabral e descubram a nossa gente.
I will try to say everything that my president tell. Thank you very much for coming in Belmonte. Beirões, because this part of the village of this area we are called by Beirões. I don't know how to translate this word to English. We hope and we receive you with open arms. Yes. Welcome to the Discover of the World Museum. This is one of the 5 museums that we can see in Belmonte. In Belmonte we have 5 museums. We have the olive oil museums, where in the end our visitors can taste the olive oils of this area. We have also the Eco Museum that refers the Rio Zezer that burns in the mountains in Serra da Estrela, and is the river that passes by Belmonte. The Jewish Museum, the St. James Church, and also the Discover of the World Museum where we are in this moment. Belmonte is the land of Pedro Álvares Cabral. He discovered Brazil, but we are also land of Jews, and we cannot forget that the Jewish community of Belmonte is one of the most important Jewish communities of Portugal. And this is an interactive museum. We will pass by 60 rooms where we always have touch screens and marks in the ground that we have to play, to touch, to have the information. And the information in this museum is always in the 3 languages: Portuguese, English and Spanish. You can choose, okay? This museum was built in the garden of the Solar of Cabrais, and the Solar of Cabrais was the second house of the Cabral family. First, they lived in the castle until the 17th century, time that the part of where the Cabral family lived had a fire, and they changed to the Solar of Cabrais. Our visit starts in this first room, that is called Belmonte Room, where our visitors can know a little more about the story of Belmonte, and we can see also photos from monuments that you can see in the Belmonte and near Belmonte. The castle, that is the construction of the 12th century, and it was the first house of the Cabral family. And we have a special windows, that is this one, that is a Manuelina windows, a typical style Portuguese typical style, I'm sorry, from the time of King Manuel. The St. James Church and the Pantheon of the Cabral family, where we have the tombs of the Cabral family. We have also a tomb with some remains of Pedro Álvares Cabral. Pedro Álvares Cabral, his tomb is in Santarém, but in the Pantheon of Cabrais we have a part, because in the second open of the tomb of Pedro Álvares Cabral, one of these remains come to Belmonte. Torre Centoncelas, that is this one, is a monument that we can see in Culmial da Torre and is unique in our country. We know that Pedro Álvares Cabral was born in here in Belmonte in 4067 or 4068. With more or less 14 years old, he went to Lisbon and it was appointed as Captain-Mor of the second fleet to India in 1500, and he discovered Brazil in the 22 April of that year. Pedro Álvares Cabral only returns to Portugal in the following year. He was also invited to another trip to India with Vasco da Gama, but he refused the invitation. And we can say that Pedro Álvares Cabral died a little bit forgotten by the kingman at the time in Santarém. His tomb is in Santarém, but we have a part of their remains in the Pantheon of Cabral, okay? That is near the St. James Church. This boat will take us to Brazil. Pedro Álvares Cabral, the fleet of Pedro Álvares Cabral had 13 boats. From Lisbon left 13, but only returned 6. Pedro Álvares Cabral was the main captain of the fleet, but all these boats had their captain that obeyed to Captain Pedro Álvares Cabral. And you have to pass the forest. Pay attention with the forest, we have to pass between the forest and you will discover Amazonia. Welcome to Brazil. This was the first image that Portuguese saw when they arrived to Brazil, and to this mount they called the Easter Mount, because at the time we were at the time of the Easter, okay, when we arrived at Brazil. We arrived to Brazil, we have our Indians waiting for us. We didn't speak the same language and we have to speak with the hands, but we want to show them that our intentions were good, and because of that we give them some presents. And we will change some presents with the Indians. Can you be my voluntary, please? You offer a present to the Indian. We put the object in there. He received the object. It was the first time that he saw an object like this one. And he liked us and give us something in change. He give us a bird, a parrot. We can hear the hypings that slavers suffer. And there we have a picture that show how Portuguese and other people treated the slaves. European music, African music and indigenous music. And in this room we have several marks. We play in the marks and we will have the instruments. Well, the music appears, but you can listen to the music with all the instruments, or we can choose. We are more or less the compositors. Step, please, and make music. And now we are listening to the frevo. This is the kind of music that we are listening, okay?
Belmonte is a historic village where the buildings are constructed in granite.
Is open since 2005, and it was the first museum in Portugal dedicated to the story of Jewish people. And in the main door we have the mezuzah, because Jews, when they arrive to their houses or business place, they put a hand in the mezuzah, and after that they take the things to the lips. It's a way to remember the traditions. Because the Jewish community of Belmonte is one of the most important Jewish communities from Portugal. In here survived the last crypto Jews. What is the crypto Jews? We know that our King Dom Manuel expelled Jews from Portugal, but our case was different from the case of Spain. Dom Manuel only expelled Jews from Portugal because he wanted to marry with the daughter of the kings of Spain. And one of the conditions for the marriage was that in Portugal we don't have Jews. But our king recognized the importance of Jews in an intellectual way and also in an economical way. And he expelled Jews from Portugal, but the time that he gave to Jews to left our country, it wasn't enough. It was 10 months. And sometimes the boats didn't appear in the harbor ports in Lisbon to take these Jews for other countries. The Jews that stayed were forced to convert to the Catholicism by the baptism. And at that time we have the new Christians. New Christians and crypto Jews at the beginning had the same meaning, the Jews that were forced to convert. But with the time, the new Christians start to be Catholic, and the crypto Jews never forget their roots. And how these Jewish communities survive until the 20th century. Inside of their houses, they were Jews. Outside of their houses, they were Catholics. The Catholicism, it was used to hide their true identity. The Judaism in Belmonte only survived until the 20th century because of the woman, because it was the woman, the mother, that passed all the traditions to her daughters. The man was more or less a part of the religion. The woman had the main role. The most part of the objects that we have in the museum belongs to a family. The family Carqueja Rodrigues is not a Jewish family from Belmonte, but from Trancoso. The most part of the objects that we can see belongs to this family. They help a lot to build this Jewish museum. The oldest object that we have in the museum is this lamp that has more than 2,000 years old, and it was offered by Israel to the museum. These two books are from Flavio Joseph. Flavio Joseph was a Romanized Jew that wrote the story of Jewish people. The books are from the 17th century. One is in Latin and another in French. The map with the 12 tribes of Israel, the people chosen by God, by the idea of Jews, and the copy of the Titus Triumphal Arch to remember the second destruction of the temple. And in here we can see the menorah, that is the main symbol of the Jewish religion. It's true that we always remind the Magne David, the Star of David, but the most important object in the Judaism is the menorah that has 7 arms, related with the construction of the world in 7 days, and in the 7 days they rest. It's because of that Shabbat starts at Friday night and lasts Saturday until night, and is the day of rest of Jews. In here we have another candelabra that has 8 plus 1 arm, and why I don't say 9? Because one has always a different position and will be the shamas. This Hanukkah is related with the holiday of Hanukkah, that they remember the miracle of olive oil. When Jews conquered the temple, they didn't have olive oil kosher enough for the 7 nights. They only have olive oil for 1 night, but the miracle happened, and the olive oil that was enough for 1 night lasts 7 nights plus 1. Now we have the Portugal's map, where we have several David stars. The black David stars show us the synagogues that exist in Portugal in the Middle Age. and the white ones in the 19th century, the end of the Inquisition in Portugal. And at the time when the Inquisition ended, we only had 2 active synagogues, one in Lisbon and another in Faro. In our days we have 3 synagogues, one in Lisbon, another here in Belmonte, that is a new one, that is the synagogue Pt2, that is open since 1996, and another one in Oporto. In the Middle Age, we believe that we also had a synagogue here in Belmonte. About that synagogue, we don't have many information, only this stone that was dated by Samuel Schwartz from the year of 1297. And why Samuel Schwartz say that this stone belongs to a first synagogue that exists in Belmonte? Because in the stone we can see an inscription in Hebrew related with the house of Adonai. And Adonai is very important in the Judaism because when they want to speak about God, they always put the word Adonai. And Samuel Schwartz say that in this stone we can read, Adonai is in his sacred temple, everyone remains in silence in his presence. In here we have several objects related with some Jewish holidays, the jars and the balls for Sukkot that remember the 40 years that Jews passed in the desert after they left Egypt. They built a sukkah and all the meals are made in outside of the houses. Several cups for the kiddush, that is the blessing of the wine. The kippah that is used inside the synagogue by the men as a sign of respect. For Purim, that is a great day for Jews. And the payon, the servivon, is given to the children in Hanukkah. The sacred book of the Judaism, that is the Sefer Torah. This Sefer Torah belongs to our Jewish community, has more than 150 years old, and it was given by the Jewish community from Gibraltar to our Jewish community when they opened the synagogue. The first 2 show us jobs from Jews. All Jews celebrate the festival of Sukkot inside of the houses during the Inquisition. Outside of the houses, how it's made today, where they build a sukkah. The candles of Shabbat that are illumined by the woman in Friday nights, a meal of Shabbat and a meal of Pesach where we have the dish of Seder, the ritual of the man when he comes to the houses and put the hand in the mezuzah. We will have a new exposition in here in the museum dedicated to Aristides Sousa Mendes. Aristides Sousa Mendes was a very important man. He saved more than 30,000 persons, and we believe that 10,000 were Jews. Aristides Sousa Mendes first was recognized in the United States, after here in Portugal.
I hope to see you next week for another adventure around the world. So long for now.